Don't shit where you eat. That's what everyone says, right? Don't dip your pen in the company ink. Don't date your coworkers. Basically nowadays, workplace romance is off limits. But is that really true? Is that a blanket statement that we should make for everybody? And is it even desirable? Personally, I don't think it should be that black and white, because I have known many friends and clients who've hooked up with people from their workplace, and some of them are even still together. We idolize couples that do it from famous TV shows like The Office or Game of Thrones or It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And even ex-president Barack Obama and Michelle, they met when she was his mentor, directly kind of guiding him as her subordinate. And the data backs this up. You know, even though it's on the downtrend because online dating is going up, still about 11 to 15% of couples end up getting married from a workplace romance. In certain industries, like hospitality and tourism, 62% of people say they've dated coworkers. And when polled, up to 2/3 of people say that they'd still be open to a workplace romance. So my goal here today is not to convince you that you should pursue somebody at work or you shouldn't, especially if you have somebody in mind, but rather to give you an honest evaluation to make that decision for yourself and to see if it's healthy and to approach that effectively, because nobody else knows what's right for you. If two people fall in love and they're both consensual and there's no like conflict of interest or power play dynamics going on, who cares? I think that it can be healthy in theory, and that's what I want to teach you right now. Now, as an initial warning, the first thing you always need to do is check your company policies. Every company is different. They have certain restrictions. Some are more tight than others. So whatever advice I say here comes secondary to making sure that you're in line with what your company is advising. So I'm going to break this video into 3 sections. The first is going to help you analyze the specific situation with your workplace. The second is going to help you improve your overall value in that workplace. And then the third is going to tell you exactly how to approach inviting somebody out that you like without doing it in a way that's likely to get you in any sort of trouble. All right, so first, analyze your situation at work. I'm going to also give you 3 questions right now. The first is, why are you pursuing somebody at work or have somebody in mind? Because a lot of times when people come to me about this, it's because they don't have other options in their lives. They don't have a social life, they don't go out, they don't go do much online dating, so they're taking the easiest route available to them, and the people closest to them that might not actually be the right person for them, or it might be a situation that gets them in trouble, and they're just looking for the simple way out. So I would say, if you aren't actively pursuing other people elsewhere and dating around, you should probably do that first, or at least in tandem to this, and not just hope that your workplace is going to provide those opportunities to you. If you are dating around and you really find somebody specifically at your job that you two have a great connection with, you've gotten to know them, you like their values and personality, then I think that's absolutely fine. The second question I want to ask you then is the person you like in a place of being your subordinate. Are you their manager? Are you their boss? If so, probably don't pursue it. Technically, could it work out? Yeah, sure. But with everything around power dynamics, and that's where a lot of people are getting in trouble, and with good reason, right? There is people that take advantage of that and manipulate others. I do think there can be situations where it can be truly consensual, but it's really muddy, and if things blow up, then they're usually going to take the side of the person who's under you with good reason, because you're their boss. You're not supposed to be sleeping with your underlings, right? And it's basically in every single company handbook. So if it's somebody under you, probably don't pursue that. If it's somebody that's an equal or anything like that, I think that's fine to do. And the third question I want to ask you to analyze your situation: is this a job you care about? If this is a job that's your dream job and you worked so hard for it and you moved up in this company, then be more cautious. There's a lot of risk at play, and you have to evaluate, is maybe having some casual sex, or unless you do find love there, but is maybe, hooking up with a random coworker worth everything that I've done in this space? If you're working at a restaurant or a hotel or, retail, for example, and you know that you're moving on and this isn't your long-term goal, then I think it's more realistic, where I know, especially in the restaurant scene, there's a huge hookup culture there, and people aren't worried about losing their job, especially if it's a lower wage job. And in those situations, I think it's a lot easier to assess your risk and take that shot if that's the case. Still, of course, can you do it at a place you really like? You just have to ask yourself, is this specific person worth it? Now, the second part of this video, like I said, is increasing your value in the workplace. Because the problem is, you can't really flirt with your coworkers to kind of build attraction and connection and to show your interest like you would in different situations. You don't want to be getting overtly sexual. You don't want to be hitting on anyone. You don't want to be touching anyone at a workplace. It's just too dangerous. Instead, what you can do is show other people how great of an individual you are, how good it is to be around you, and then they're more like, oh, wow, I'm really getting to enjoy this person's company. And so when you make that invitation, they're assessing it based on everything they've seen. And that's expected. Nobody's expecting you to flirt to necessarily create a connection there. They just want to know, can I get along with this person? Are they cool? And then they're usually open to exploring that further. So the first thing is up your fashion and style game. I know this seems really obvious, but especially with people getting back into the workplace now and cultures being more laxed and casual, I think if some of the time you dress up a little bit or you wear stuff that's really form-fitting or even you have some accessories that are cool, it makes you stand out from the next 10 guys in your department that are all wearing grungy t-shirts and shorts for the summer, and you just get a little bit ahead of the pack. I had a friend who used to work at one of my old jobs, and he would get tons of attention because of his fashion sense. He would wear tailored pants that fit him really well, especially because he worked out, and he would wear like cool, interesting socks. So when he had nice dress shoes and his pants would show up, it'd like give a pop of color and be a little bit more dynamic. And to be honest, over the years, I heard many times different women comment on that. I would overhear conversations, and they would largely a lot of times be about his ass because he worked out and it looked good in it. And one thing that guys don't realize is we check out a lot of bottoms, but so do women. If you got a good butt and you're wearing nice tight pants, they will take notice. The second way to increase your value in the workplace is to be more social. And I'm not saying you need to go out and pretend to be some extrovert and talk to everybody and be the life of the party, but you need to greet your coworkers. You need to go to some company lunches or invite people to lunch sometimes. You need to show that you're warm and open to talking to people and supportive. And this is especially true to the person you might be interested in as well, where you have to engage them a little bit before you usually invite them out so that you have some rapport and it feels natural. If you've never talked or she's really avoidant of you or he's like, in his own world all the time, then like I wouldn't necessarily go and pursue that person because that's a little bit more risky where you don't know if you have any connection at all. You don't even know if they want to talk to you. But if you've been a little warm and social throughout, the first couple of days that you guys are talking or the first weeks and they're receptive to it, you know that it's much more likely that when you invite them out, you're going to get an opportunity where they say yes. Okay, so like I said, I would start to greet people. I would take your lunch, not at your desk, but join your coworkers. If they do a lunch outing sometimes, I would be the one to spearhead that and invite them out. Maybe even you want to invite people out for an after-works drinks on a Thursday night and get a group of the people going. And the reason why this is so important, not only do you create some rapport, especially with the people you might like, but you are a social high-value person. And that's what we all want. We all want to get with somebody who can be open and connect with others and are well-liked. So just taking that little bit of extra time to spend 10 minutes a day socializing and interacting with your coworkers really can make all the difference in the way somebody sees you. Now, the third way to increase your value is to be a source of positivity. Because a lot of times in workplaces, people are stressed. They complain a lot. When they get together for work lunches, they're always talking negatively about, this project they have or how stressed they are or some unfair, situation. And I get it. That's part of the job. It's good to vent your side of things, but it shouldn't be all of the time. And in fact, I think more of the time you should be the one that's trying to be positive, maybe bridging it into other subjects and showing passion for something, enthusiasm, excitement about what's to come or this summer, whatever, and not only engage in the negativity. Because yeah, it might be cool to bond with some people in that sense, but let's say you have somebody you like, and every time you guys are hanging out, it's really negative, it's really sad, it's really complainy. You'll connect in a certain way, but they're not going to see you as their fun, interesting, exciting partner that they can lead a more positive life and pull them out of the quote-unquote misery. They're only going to see you as just another one of the people that is just a worker that we complain about things with, and that's the type of dynamic we have. Again, it's not about being a fake happy person, but it's about balancing yourself and managing your emotions so you're not only talking about these dark things all the time, but you show all the other spectrums of your personality, and that makes you a lot more exciting, and it also contrasts to all the other people who are just kind of bringing the energy down. All right, so now you've analyzed your work situation, you've improved your value. How do you start inviting somebody out that you like? So there's two paths. The first is where you kind of gradually get to know that person through kind of workplace environments, and then you invite them out. So maybe you start talking at the water cooler, or while you guys are brewing your coffees in the kitchen, or at like a general company lunch, or in general, be the one to set up a lunch and invite a bunch of your coworker friends and the person that you're interested in. That way, they start to build that rapport. They see you in the best light. They see you as a social person. And then when you guys are at that workplace lunch and you find a moment where you guys are talking next to each other, or you're walking back to your cars, you can say, hey, Caroline, can I bother you for a second? Or hey, come join me for a second. And you get a moment where you pull them to the side and you're like, hey, it was really fun having you out at lunch. I was wondering, I'd also like to take you out for a drink sometime and get to know you better. And that way you're giving an opportunity for natural connection to grow a little bit. And by the way, you don't want to do this for like months. I'm talking about this could be like over a few different days or over a couple of initial weeks. But then they actually feel like they get to know you, they've seen the best of you, and boom, that's going to increase your odds of getting a yes when you make that invitation. Otherwise, if you already have rapport with somebody and you've been interacting for a while at your work, and especially if they're showing you that they enjoy your company and they walk up and talk to you during the day and they ask you to come join them in the kitchen for coffee, and you guys are already relatively well established as a connection inside the workplace, then I think it's pretty natural to progress that to, hey, by the way, I love grabbing coffees with you in the break room, but I'd also love to take you out for a drink sometime. And you make it a statement, you keep it pretty concise, but I wouldn't label it as a date. I wouldn't tell them like, hey, I really like you and I'd love to take you out. And I definitely wouldn't like flirt with them and like compliment them and say, hey, I think you're really attractive. Come join me for dinner. Because if they aren't interested, then it makes it feel a lot more intense. It's a lot more pressure. And this is where things get muddy, where somebody might feel like you're putting them in an uncomfortable position. But if you just say, hey, I'd love to take you out for drinks, or I'd love to like continue to talk more over drinks, or hey, do you want to come to dinner with me? Then it's pretty obvious what you're asking, right? You've already been talking, as friends in the workplace, or you've gone out to little luncheons as a group. But when you're taking it to that one-on-one dynamic, and usually at a nighttime gathering, they know what's going on, and then they can decide, cool, yeah, of course, like, yeah, let's go have dinner. And at that point, when you guys are out in those environments, I think all bets are off. I think you treat it like a normal date. You could show interest, you can flirt with them, and pursue them as you'd be interested. If obviously on that date, they rebuff your advances, or they let you know, hey, sorry, I don't know if you got the wrong signals, but I'm just looking for friendship here, then you just are honest about it and you say, hey, sorry, I misread the situation. I was obviously looking to explore something more, but I'm totally cool if you're not, and thanks for letting me know. But if you can still like interact with them normally and greet them during the day and still be warm and still engage in the workplace and treat them like a colleague or even be friends, it's going to be fine. When it gets dicey at work is when somebody gets hurt and then they like awkwardly avoid that person the whole time. They don't talk to them. They start excluding them from invitations. Then it feels like you're being ostracized from your workplace, and that can create a real toxic dynamic. And if they reject you in the moment when you make the invitation, when you're inviting them out to drinks, same thing. As long as you're like, hey, no big deal, thanks for letting me know, and really no problem at all, and you still just keep talking over coffee and you hang out, it's generally never going to be a problem. I don't even know if I've encountered a situation in my life or with a friend or a client where things didn't work out, couples broke up from workplaces, or somebody wasn't into somebody, and as long as people are cool about it and still treat themselves normally, it's fine. I've had actually 2 different situations with coworkers where it didn't work out and we remained friends. One of them was a woman who I realized was not the same type of relationship headspace that I was in. She was much more in a casual, fun headspace at that point, and I was eventually looking to date somebody a little bit more exclusively. And the other was I realized I'm just a little too plain for my personality. I've got kind of a dark sense of humor, I'm adventurous, I go on random trips, and I just didn't think our personalities would click. So I was actually in the situation of rebuffing them, but I didn't make it weird. I said, hey, it's not about you. I was still really warm and engaged them after, and we've still remained friends, and now they're dating other people. In fact, actually, one of them's married and one of them's engaged. So it was all good. So I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all answer for workplace romance. I think you need to analyze your situation individually and make sure you're coming from a healthy place and it's appropriate. I think 2, if it is, then you need to work on improving your value in the workplace and not necessarily feeling like you need to flirt with the people you're interested in to build some kind of connection. And then 3rd, you need to create some kind of rapport so that it feels natural when you make that invitation, whether it's, starting to interact with them by the water cooler or inviting them out to like a little lunch together in the group setting and then inviting them out one-on-one. Or if you already have a great dynamic going on, then I think it's totally fine to invite them out right then and there one-on-one, but just make sure you don't make it too heavy-handed that it's a date or you tell them how much you like them, because that really gives them no option to like back out cleanly and they feel like they're kind of put into a corner. And that's where I think things get really difficult for everybody. Love comes in all shapes and sizes and in unexpected places. So who am I to judge? I think we all have to make smart, healthy decisions for ourselves. And if you like this advice, this is my life's work and my passion. I wake up every day excited to give people advice and hopefully help them out. So if you can, help us out and just give us a subscribe, a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you soon.